I've talked in my previous videos regarding RE games and what Capcom has in the works. As we all know, they're never working on just one game. Of course, this is a franchise that sells ridiculous numbers, so of course they're not going to just focus on one entry or one, games at a time. Like, they're going to work on multiple titles. So we know that one of them is of course going to be a remake of Resident Evil 5. And out of all the remakes that obviously we know of, or lack of know of because it hasn't been confirmed or anything like that, RE5 definitely stands as one of the more challenging ones. It's definitely not the challenging one, though. That definitely belongs to the likes of Resident Evil 6, as we all know why that game would need a complete overhaul. But there are some issues and some things that would need to be kind of talked about when it comes to a Resident Evil 5 remake and what would need to do right and where the challenges might come into play. And understandably, I don't know if Capcom would really handle all of these topics I'm going to talk about, or some of the factors I'm going to talk about, but we'll see. If you guys do enjoy obviously our Resident Evil content, then definitely hit the subscribe button, as there's no obviously end to Resident Evil on this channel, so definitely hit that subscribe button and that like button if you do enjoy this video. Anyway, let's get into it. Obviously, when this game was made, it was obviously done back in 2000 and I believe 9, and obviously Capcom has definitely changed since then. Their design philosophy has greatly changed since then, so of course it's not going to have the same aspects of what the original had when it came to making the game, like level design and such. Obviously since then we've kind of moved back to traditional horror in a sense, a little bit of a slight bump from Resident Evil Village, but for the most part we've kind of gone back to the form of Resident Evil, and that is its horror aspect, with the likes of Resident Evil 7 and the upcoming Resident Evil Requiem. So we have to bear that in mind for when it comes to level designs and such, which will greatly impact the game, and that is actually kind of the more actual first point. This is more of an introductory point when it comes to talking about design philosophy, but level design is very critical for this game, and it's kind of interesting too, because I don't know how they would go about this, because in the original, if you played it, you would obviously play through chapters, and yeah, Resident Evil 4 had chapters, but it was more like seamless in a sense of how it would went. Like, you can just hit the button and you're straight in. It just feels more of a breakup than anything. It's not like you could also go back to certain points of areas. To be fair, in RE4, in the original at least, you couldn't, but you can slightly backtrack, whereas this game really restricts the whole backtracking aspect. So I don't know how that would play in, making the game, especially in like early parts and later parts of the section of the games, because just like RE4, it has different sections where you go from this location to a second location and then to the final location. So that is something they would have to kind of consider when making this game, is the fact of, I guess, seamless transition, and how they would have to kind of redesign the game itself to allow that, like, and talking about the environments and stuff like that. So that's something we kind of would have to expect. I don't know if they'll be bigger in some way or even smaller, but ways that it could actually just flow together. As a lot of games today, we don't really have as much breakups now. It's more just seamless getting into point A to B without even realizing that you've already transferred into a new chapter or a new zone sort of thing. AI and obviously resource management definitely needs a rework for this game. The AI in this game is obviously atrocious. Everyone knows that it's the worst AI you can really have in a game. Obviously, probably not. There's probably a lot worse, but again, the AI in Resident Evil 5 is just notoriously bad. Like, it just doesn't really follow through. Like, it just lags behind when you're trying to run away from groups of enemies. It sometimes won't attack at times, and just little random stuff. Like, it just like little things that just builds up. That's what makes the AI so atrocious. So they definitely need to actually land this. Now, I don't know the actual full ins and outs on why the AI was like this, because if you played the other games, especially like Resident Evil 6, you know that AI is really good in that game, or at least for me, in my experience. It might also differ too, but the AI is generally good in RE6, whereas in RE5, well, it's terrible. And it doesn't matter who you play as, whether it's Chris or Sheva, they're both bad. It's just literally the AI itself. It's something to do with like character specifics. If it was, then that would be really I think you would have a lot of interesting controversies going around when it comes to that side, which obviously leads to my other point is the management. I know a lot of people, including myself, has kind of complained about this. When it comes to obviously your items and stuff like that, it's kind of split. Like if Leon's literal briefcase that he carries in RE4 is literally split between Chris and Sheva. And that is probably one of the most annoying things, because you constantly, even like mid fight, would have to kind of like swap items, exchange, make sure it's fine. And I don't mind that aspect, but I think what really annoys me is the frustration that it's live. I don't know, this is more of like a personal thing for me, is that I just don't like how it's just literally happening right there and then. Like, you're still getting attacked whilst trying to sort your items. I guess that adds to the experience, but it just kind of made it more frustrating in my opinion. So I think that aspect for me, I would love if that got changed. I don't know, let me know in the comments below. Would you guys like to keep that aspect where obviously you're changing items and stuff like that live, then obviously, you know, just pausing the menu and then just sorting out your, you know, items and such? Let me know. But yeah, honestly, I think that would be a real good thing if they actually had that, because I think it's just a lot better. And speaking on this topic of items, please can we just not worry about giving items to the partner? Because the partner is kind of annoying. Like, you kind of have to like balance between it. I just rather have my own inventory to worry about, my own stuff. And I think this is why RE6 kind of went back to RE4's mechanics, in the sense of that you just have to worry about your own. Or actually, another thing, it could actually work with the items. It's just, I think if it was more like RE6 maybe, or something a little bit better, where it's just you can easily like swap through items and sort them out and just delete items, because I found that was just a lot easier in that case when it comes to RE6. But again, that's just probably a little personal take and may have not actually affected any of you, but again, we'll kind of talk about this in the comments. So yeah, I think honestly stuff like that, sorting out the items and just having to worry about your own character rather than both, is a little bit annoying, because it does feel a little bit of a hindrance. Obviously, I know this probably came into play because obviously it's a co-op game, which I'll talk about the co-op aspect later in this video, so stay tuned for that. But again, I just think this could honestly benefit them if they could change this. Personally for me, that's just me. The next point I want to go over is obviously the balance between action and horror. Something that I think both RE4 and RE5 has is this great start of horror, in the sense of like it's believable, like it's really effective in the beginning section of the game. You get to the second location of the game and then the third one just blows out and it's like, yep, there is no horror whatsoever. And I think honestly, if they built what they done with the beginning section, because again, RE5, like it's kind of chilling the way the enemies and the people look at you in the village and stuff like that, including the dead body that surrounds you. It's just very interesting, like the dead obviously animals and meat just lying around there, like they're just obviously rotting and just slowly just getting eaten away. It's just stuff like that really helps and sells this sort of dread that Resident Evil 5 gives you in the beginning section, that is. But it kind of fades away, like I've already mentioned. I don't know how they would really go about changing this, because I'm not fully equipped with talking about it myself, is why this section is a little bit more shorter. But I still wanted to highlight it so that hopefully it does get a little bit more mention in the community. I think honestly, a lot of people love the action co-op experience, while a lot of people really dislike it. Now, I don't really hate the co-op idea, and at first I really did, but I grew to understand why people love it so much, even though I haven't actually experienced said co-op experience, you know. But I have actually gained more respect, because again, this did boost the sales of the actual game itself. A lot of people come back to this game still because of its co-op feature, and obviously it's really fun when playing it probably with someone else, rather than just dealing with the crappy AI. Now, I think probably because of the crappy AI is why people have such distasteful, obviously, the co-op feature, because it basically gave them the worst possible AI. I don't know if that's the reason. Like I said, I don't explain the AI issue, but again, part of the reason why I think Resident Evil 5 kind of needs that co-op feature is that it brought a lot of people over for the very first time in RE's history. A lot of people picked this game up and that was their first experience. Like, it wasn't previous games or anything like that. This was their literal first time playing RE. And I think if you want those people to come back to obviously re-experience, relive that nostalgia, then you probably want to keep this aspect. Now, there should probably be like a toggle or something, whether you want it or not, and have some significant changes for each. So if you actually do have your co-op partner, then the inventory will actually be split, just to show that you're not blazing through and have like a ridiculous amount of resources. So if they can help keep those resources limited, that would be a way to make it still more horrifying, because obviously that's at its core what Resident Evil does best, giving you limited resources like guns, herbs, anything like that. Again, I think if they try to do this effectively with co-op, as well as obviously if you're not playing co-op and that's just you're dealing with limited resources whilst trying to survive the horde and masses of enemies that are probably might even be stronger than you, I think Resident Evil 5 will probably be a really fantastic game. We all know Resident Evil 5 will be a very expensive remake, especially because the amount of things that would have to be worked upon and refined and stuff like that. So it would kind of be almost like a new game itself. So I wouldn't mind if obviously we just get the base game and then they give us obviously DLC for the remaining DLC stories obviously and mercenaries. I wouldn't mind as long as they're also probably a little bit expanded and refined themselves. So I'll perfectly take that. Now, of course, I didn't mention those stuff, which I'll probably talk about, I think, in its own video if you guys would like to see. But for the most part, I'm definitely going to leave it here for now. It's it for pretty much most of the week, so that's why you haven't obviously seen a lot of videos out of me. So I hope to obviously change that and actually get back to recording more. But other than that, yeah, I'll definitely talk about probably mercenaries and the DLC campaign in another video. So if you're looking forward to something along those lines, then definitely hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. That way you're notified when that video drops or any RE video drops on this channel. This is The Void signing out. Peace out, guys, and have a lovely day.